Welcome to Biggest Geekest. We're your hosts. I'm Randy.
I'm Joe.
This is episode 105, not 4, as it says in the outline. And our show and the date is Tuesday, September 13th, 2022.
2022.
How are you, man?
All right. A little tired.
Tired today? Okay, I feel you.
I'm tired. Well, it's just I was off for a couple of weeks, and now I'm having to actually work again. And
Yeah, I bet. I tell you what, today was pretty good. I was a little slower than normal. Trying to type and talk, which is bad. Anyway, but I got my classes going this week. I think it's going to be a pretty smooth week. We're coming up our first test, so yeah, we'll see how they do. Got some good and some bad. So a lot of crowd, a good crowd tonight. Looks at the streamers in there. We got Darth and Green Apple. L, I don't know L, but you're welcome to be here. We're glad you're here, L. Our name in the house. Woo, a lot of good. Adam Simpson. Is he a new guy? He looks familiar.
I think that not a frequent hanger outer with us in this AO.
But we got Flighty
the name looks familiar.
Yeah, Flighty One, good old Patrick, CBK Ply. We got some of the usual suspects, so it's a good day. So,
Wow, your typing is horrendous, dude. Low pud music, ick is good.
Yeah, there's Randy Nichols says low pud music, ick is good. Yeah, Darth, it's my typing, dude. So yeah. Oh, Tim Scott's lurking while he cleans his basement. When you get done, Tim, come on over and clean mine too. That'd be great. So,
is he a lurker?
Yeah. Except my basement would be pretty tough to get into since it's a crawl space.
Isn't the lurker the one that would fall on you from above and smother you and then consume you like a Venus flytrap?
It's called a lurker above. Yeah, I love those. Remember that back in 1? I would do it to you guys all the time.
All the time.
Suck it, it's a lurker. Suck it, dudes.
Yeah, it's a lurker. Imagine a lurker.
Yeah. Those good times, baby. Oh man, Malachi's in the house. Legion. Yeah, we got a good crowd here. So anyway, I'll guess talk about what we did in a minute. But anything else new and exciting this week for you, Joseph?
Well, we're going to get to some of it in our Big Geek Emporium update.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I wrestled with code and I made it cry uncle.
Oh, Tim Scott says, I would love to destroy people from above. Yes, that's the only way to destroy them.
They didn't just destroy you. They consumed you.
They did. That was the beauty of it. You became part of the lurker. All right.
DVR Army's here. Hello, phone guy.
Yeah, what's up, man? Thanks, DVR Army. Yeah, very cool. All right. Well, do you want to start with the one? I think you said we had one call-in. Do you want to do that tonight? Or do you want to
say that again?
We have a call-in, right? Did you want to do that tonight? Or
yes, we have a call-in.
Cool.
Mainly because it's in relation to last episode, I'm pretty sure.
All right.
And I can't even remember what he's talking about.
Okay. Give it a shot.
I mean, I understand what he's saying, but I don't get the reference. Anyway, you want to start with that?
Yeah, let's mix it up tonight.
All right. We'll start with that.
Call-ins, yeah. I think it's from our buddy Taylor. Shout out to Taylor. He helped me out with a little something. I'll talk about that with the module update. So,
alrighty.
Joe is working his magic.
Yes, multiple clicking.
All right, man.
Clicks of power. All right. This is from Clerics Ring Mail. Yes, Clerics Ring Mail. Taylor, take it away.
Talking about learning basic in school. I was a little young to learn basic. I had to learn Rule Cyclopedia, but same difference. So that's it. I laughed out loud at when you said, is that supposed to say integer? Keep on keeping on.
So
Which part did you not remember?
it's a little difficult to hear, folks. He
I
must have had a bad connection or whatever. But in the first couple of times I heard it, I didn't get what he was talking about at the very beginning.
Well,
Learning the basic language,
Yeah.
programming language.
yes.
He's comparing that to learning basic D&D.
Right.
So integer. What do you mean? What did he mean?
Remember my story about wanting to go play basketball on a Saturday in college. I had to write a program. It kept showing. It kept running up zeros, and I had put the integer in instead of a real number. Yeah.
Right.
Crafty Matt. Hey, we don't see him too often. Glad he's in the house.
Oh, trolling his way through the Gatekeepers group.
Okay.
Has he been in other live streams? Is he causing problems? I know he's asking questions. Complained about our intro music a little bit, but to each his own. To each his own.
We like loud. He doesn't have to. It's cool. All right. Well, the best news is, we played last Thursday. But I think I saw a lot of flaws in OSE and Basic. A lot of things I didn't like. What did you think?
Yeah. I mean, we didn't play a lot of Basic. We played a little bit of Basic, and then we got into AD&D early on in our gaming, I believe.
We played 6 to a year probably in Basic D&D.
Right. I mean, compared to the 40 that we've played, 40.
Right. AD&D 20 years, and then I just got another 20. But so one thing that really bugged me, first of all, I talked with Martinson about the Barbarian. I think that Barbarian sucks in Advanced OSE. I think as a class, he's kind of worthless.
Yeah, because what does he do besides what the fighter does?
And Andy can't wear the heaviest armor, which is fine, but he doesn't get he can't be healed. And he can't use magic. It says he can't use magic items. And so our player that plays the druid finally got a 2nd level spell, and he has to make it cure light wounds because he's the only one that can heal the barbarian, because the barbarian won't let you heal him. And so Martinson and I are thinking about changing that class around. I have an idea for a berserker, and it's going to be kind of a barbarian type, and I want to fix some of those problems. I really didn't like the barbarian at all. He seems to be like a drain on the party.
I think it's one of the reasons we didn't. When the barbarian came out back in the day, Unearthed Arcana's barbarian, right? That was 1st edition time, and it was the same kind of deal. Didn't trust magic users. By the time you were 7th level or something like that, you could not adventure. I don't know if one way or the other. It was either you couldn't adventure until you were 7th level, and then you developed some kind of trust, or you couldn't past 7th level, something like that. And I don't know where. I don't know where they get that from, because the quintessential barbarian, Conan, had a buddy in the movie, at least, who was a sorcerer of, in the movie he seemed to be kind of not, very powerful, but but be that as it may, I mean, he didn't really not trust magic the way that they have styled barbarians.
No.
Then, I mean, in the Conan stories in the comic book or in the novels, in the pulp novels, it might have been that he didn't trust sorcerers or wizards because in the world setting they are often corrupt.
Yeah.
But I think that they took that a little too far in the game rules. Well, yes, Shadow's Pawn, not powerful. He cast Raise Dead. Well, kinda. I think he had some help with. It seemed like the Conan getting raised from the dead was part of the story. So the sorcerer doing the ritual, I mean, he left it up to the gods to decide. He implored the gods to intervene, and then it worked. I don't know if you would call that Raise Dead specifically, but
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, Shadow Spawn, I think, might be new. I don't recall the name, but if he's not, he offered to give you help with some web development if you have any concerns, Joe. So there's an offer of help should you run into some trouble. Thanks, bud.
I appreciate that. I have a team. They're doing their thing on the design end, and once they get some design work done, they will be they'll be poking around at the code. We're not trying to get too much code on. It's a little confusing sometimes, the workflow that we're using, because there's not much of a workflow. They do their thing and I do my thing. I was pretty much primarily concerned with getting print on demand working. It's a little ugly right now, but it works. So fairly soon we will be deploying print on demand on Big Geek Emporium. It'll be a little oogly.
Yeah. David Guile offered to give me he had some ideas for Barbarian. I'm going to talk to him after the podcast. And CBK Plus said, check out the Hyperborea Berserker. Are you talking the 3rd edition? Because I did get my 3rd edition books for Hyperborea. I'm kind of excited. We've got Tonka Todd, I think, in the house for the first time at a live show. Welcome, Tonka.
Tonka Todd.
That's a cool name.
Tonka Todd. I like that. Woo, pig suey? Is there a pig?
Is that another one? What's that?
That's what he said. Woo, pig suey.
Okay. Cool.
All right.
Yeah. But anyway, so I had problems with the Barbarian. The hiring the retainers is fine. I thought I would enjoy that more. I'm not sure if I do. Crafty Matt says something, makes a good point. This might be true. Barbarian, like Conan, is very difficult to create in D&D and OSR type games. They end up being dumb brutes that hate magic. In contrast, Conan was well educated. Yeah, he wasn't actually an idiot. That's true.
Right. The thing is, Barbarian, I have a problem with Barbarian being a class anyway. Barbarian historically is just somebody that's not from where you live. Somebody on the from the fringes outside your different nations. So
right.
We thought the Asians were barbarians, or the British thought the Asians were barbaric, and they thought we were barbaric, and the Africans barbaric. All that in all those directions. Everybody thought the other people were barbarians, or outsiders. It's just another word for outsider.
Right.
And so, you could probably fashion a Conan better with a ranger that doesn't cast spells, because he's someone that lives on can survive. He's a survivor,
and he was a thief, but not in the class sense. He just would steal stuff.
Right. I don't know how much lock picking or pocket picking he did. It was maybe more thuggery. I really don't know. I didn't, like I said, my experience with Conan is from the movie. So he stole things, so he was a thief.
Right. I've read a couple of what's his name? He wrote Wheel of Time. Robert Jordan's Conan stories. I thought they were good. I've read some of Howard's. I've enjoyed Conan.
So to Patrick, ugly as in not difficult to order or poor quality print. Ugly as in the vendor's user experience is less than ideal. So I need to improve that for them to make it worthwhile for them to want to use the site. If right now they have to copy and paste a thing, and it'd be better if they could just do the clicky thing.
Gotcha.
Click a button, make selections.
Oh, I don't remember this, Mr. Guile, only vaguely. What about watching the Conan cartoon? I don't. Do you remember that, Joe?
I do not. I remember, Thundar, the Barbarian.
Yes, me too. Yeah. Arnman says Conan is a fighter with thief-like hiding, moves silent and climbing. It was possible before the stupid thief class was added to D&D. Dude, going old school, but I don't disagree. I was never a huge fan of the thief, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I don't. I think that they gave the thief some skills that they then, after the after the fact, designed modules and many things to make use of them. However, they made them so inadequate at their job at low level. You were lucky to. You weren't. It didn't matter how clever the player was, unless you said things to the DM that the DM thought were cool as far as how you were investigating the lock. I look real close. I use a mirror and a candle, and I use wax maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows all the different things you could tell your DM? And they're like, oh, that sounds cool. I'll give you a 10% bonus or whatever.
Yeah.
But low-level thieves, you had to be. It was lucky if you got your thief skill to work. And then you got your experience points by stealing things from people, and then maybe eventually you got good enough, a high enough level that your thief skills were at least halfway decent.
That reminds me of something. I'm going to add something to our OSE game, a skill system that I think will be interesting. I don't want to talk about it yet today. It's something I borrowed from the internet, so I'll give that guy some credit when I do. But it's not going to be like third edition where you're picking points and stuff and getting all those. But I have an idea. I'll be intrigued to see what you guys think of it. I feel like it'll make tasks that are supposed to be hard really hard, and tasks that are meant to be simple really simple. So we'll see how it goes. I also didn't like the death and dying. I like my idea of rolling when someone goes down, the way I've been playing it recently. So I've been running 5e. When you drop below 0 or lower, I roll a D3 behind the screen. That's how many rounds your group has to get to you before you perish. And in OSE, 0 is dead. So I got to thinking a lot about, well, what if you're at 1 hit point and you get critical and get knocked to -12? That's no different from just going to 0 and rolling that D3. So I was thinking, toying with this, what if you take damage up to your constant negative, so if you have a 12 con, if you go all the way to -12, 0 to -12, I'll roll that D3 to give you a chance to be saved. If you go below -12 from a strike, then you're just dead. Dead. No chance to save anybody. I know it's kind of, it might be too much. I might just pick an arbitrary number like 5, or I might say, because I want to I like the idea of.
What about just their con?
Right. That's right. That's what I was saying. The con, -12 was if you had a con of 12.
Okay, yeah.
So whatever your con is your negative score, and you can go to that negative score anywhere between 0 and your negative con. You can be saved in a D3 rounds. Of course, the group doesn't know how long. You can still be 1 round and dead. But if someone were to knock you way past your con and negative, then you're just dead, no roll. I think I'm going to try that. That'll make it a little more interesting.
That any number that you're going to set except for 0 is going to be somewhat, even saying 0 is dead is kind of arbitrary, but except for the fact that that's the end of your hit points. Yeah. So it makes sense that you die then. If you decide that it's negative con, but it's not strictly negative con. Right. It's negative con. When you're in that 0 to negative con range, you have 3 rounds to live. D3 rounds to live. It's not like you're good in that range. You have a limited shelf life in that hit point range. But that's still, it's kind of an arbitrary, number. And it doesn't matter. Even -10, like Darth Theok, Randy, that's like going to -10 before you actually die.
Yeah.
Right.
It kind of is, but not exactly.
Not exactly, but kind of. I know that a lot of game tables had that kind of negative hit point rule, house rule.
I think 2E had that. Am I wrong? Did 2nd edition have the -10 rule?
It could have been 2nd edition. It might have even been a 3rd edition thing. I can't remember really. I know that there's a lot of house rules that lets you live beyond 0.
Yep.
So that your party can save you from this perspective. Generally in stories, whether they're literary or film, a person goes down, there's usually a period. I mean, depending on what happens. A lot of times the hero can be saved by his friends.
Todd says negative numbers were 2nd edition. Thank you.
That sounds right.
Yeah, and Adam Simpson does clarify. I think this is true. The great thing about BX OSE is the rule set is so simple, no one is intimidated to house rule it to their liking. House rules are less likely to have a domino effect. Yeah, and so I'm going to mess around with it. I like the idea of a player. I mean, I like the 0 being dead from a simple standpoint, but more like dying and bleeding out. Like Darth made a comment about that. But in this case, when you hit 0 all the way down to your con, any of those numbers, you can be saved in a D3 rounds. So realize if I roll a 1, somebody in the party's got to get to you within 1 round or you're dead, whether you're at 0 or minus your con. Once you get worse than minus your con, there is no getting to you.
Right.
So, yeah.
But giving the party a chance to get to you and say, slap a bandage on your noggin kind of thing is cool.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it's more interesting than 0 dead.
Yeah.
Because there's no slapping a bandage on you and say you have a hit point. It's not like you have 1 hit point left. Oh, we've got to save you. No, you're not dead, or you're not at death's door.
Yeah.
You might need a heal to get you a more positive number, but yeah.
Arnman said, and so did L's commenting. Arnman said 1E had optional rules to go to -3 from 1 blow, then bleed a point per round on -10, and I believe L is agreed.
That might have been in Unearthed Arcana.
Yeah.
It could have been in the DMG as well. I don't know.
I trust him. I trust L and Arnman. That's fine. Patrick makes a good point, and this is where you got to decide how gritty you want to get. Patrick says, Demo, I think you should have combat penalties when you're bloodied and have hit points. It depends on, and I don't disagree with the idea, but it depends on what you want D&D to be. To me, the rule that I'm thinking of lets D&D still be deadly, lets you still be like, and whether you like it or not, the 1 hit point wonder. You're at 1 hit point, you still get to fight at your best capability, and at 0, you're down, but you're allowed to have a chance to be saved. So to me, it adds the tension, because when your character drops, players look around, they're like, what's up? Oh, in the DMG. Thanks, Arn Man. Okay.
Yeah, there's people that talk about when you have scaling penalties.
Yeah.
Starting wherever you start to 0, and then you're down. It's it creates what's called a death spiral.
Right.
So you get hit to half your hit points. Now you have a -1 to your rolls. Well, because of your -1 to your rolls, you're less capable in combat and more likely to get to. It's more likely that your opponents will survive long enough to hit you again, put you down to a farther negative number, and then it'll just keep going until you're dead.
Not unlike when we discuss Savage Worlds, it has that kind of effect.
Yeah. There is a death spiral in Savage Worlds.
There really is.
You can get caught in. That
pretty
is true.
Quickly too. When the poop hits the fan, it really hits the fan.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, those are things that I'm thinking right now of messing with our game. Did you notice anything that threw you off that would like to? Cal says he is in his pre-death spiral murder hobo phase. Okay.
Alrighty then.
Yeah.
I'm going to say I think that OSE kind of reinforces my dislike of racial classes.
Okay.
I like how OSE differentiates the races.
Right.
But I really don't like it.
Gotcha. It's because it's kind of weird to say you're.
It'd be nice if it would be cool if that was their thing they could just do, but then they could also instead pursue a class, because it doesn't make sense to me. I understand the idea is that humans are the widely varied race, and they can go unlimited in all the classes. But saying that all elves are nearly identical in their adventuring capabilities is weird to me. But your mileage may vary. A lot of people like racist class.
Yeah, and I mean, there's something, because what it happens, I think, for me, while I'm not as adamant against it as you, because I look at the elf, and the elf class seems very elfy in basic. What I mean is, he does the things you think an elf should do if you're kind of a Tolkien-esque elf guy. He's got magical abilities. He can fight. But I understand if you want to go, you'd like to have a little more variety. I never understood, like in, what was it, some rules, like some races couldn't have clerics. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean,
if you have to think about
if they're religious in any way, but maybe the idea of a cleric is a human concept.
Right. So maybe even religion, the way we practice it, the way humans practice it. And that's how it's reflected in the games. You have priests, you have temples and rituals and sacrifices and stuff like that. That might be the way humans interact with deities, whereas but it's not all human cultures do that identically.
Right.
There's a lot of variation. So how an elf and elves and dwarves may just say, yeah, they're there, what do you want me to do about it?
Yeah.
I mean, they may not. Yeah, I respect the gods that are out there, and that's maybe all they think about.
Yeah. I mean, well, Crafty Matt says this: races could not have PC clerics, but that was just limited to players. The species itself still had clerics. Yeah. I could see, though, like Joe said, maybe the elves, being long-lived, are not as impressed by a god's immortality, which is one of their big impressive abilities, right, to live forever. And maybe they respect the gods, maybe they honor them, but they don't truly follow them.
And like Crafty is saying here with the cleric thing you just said, it may be that they're not adventuring clerics.
Yeah. Of course, then the question, I used to run into this too in 80 and earn certain limitations. If you had a big war between elves and dwarves, how are the elves healing themselves? And the dwarves, if they, from OSE especially, if there's a big race war, how could they heal themselves?
I'm going to have to say something about this. I understand the idea of conversion, obviously being a Christian, but 28 millimeter RPG says, I've never seen a player play clerics or priests properly. Very few of them convert the masses to their God. Not all religions are evangelical.
And not all clerics, that's not their job necessarily.
I mean, Native Americans had a very religious, or had a very spiritual or religious, whatever you want to call it, outlook, but they didn't go around converting people. That's just is not part of all religion. I don't think Buddhists go around converting people, not necessarily. So, just you could look at it like in a world where the divine is obvious, conversion isn't necessary because most people are going to be believers. It's just what they do with it.
A couple of interpretations that I kind of agree with. Malachi says clerics are not there for conversion. They're there to battle on behalf of their gods. Okay. And Crafty says, and I've always liked this, priests are priests, clerics are knights in the service of the church. Well, if I like it, but then that means that what are paladins? Let's
right. Right.
Yeah.
I remember reading the cleric and the paladin descriptions back in AD&D, and they were very similar. So, yeah, they're different takes on the same job, where the cleric is more divinely powered, and the knight or the paladin is less divinely, differently powered. I mean, the paladins are more combat focused, but they call the priests, what do they call them in the first edition? the clerics. What do they call clerics? How do they describe them? Like the I think they compare them to the
Knights Templar.
Knights Templar.
I think.
And people compare paladins to Knights Templar. It's kind of different.
Now, what about now to 28 millimeters credit though? I do think there's room to be that cleric.
Sure. It depends.
Yeah, you can be a missionary type wants to convert, but I don't think they all have to say you. And he might have a very particular view of a cleric and think you have to be a converter. And maybe there's a part of some version of D&D where that was stressed. I do remember early on, we kind of thought clerics were like, believe in my God, follow my God.
Right, and there are people that play that way. I know I've heard people talk about how they always have religious wars in their games.
Yeah.
And religious wars are about conversion as well.
Dude, you got some action going outside your window.
Yeah.
Crafty says paladins are elite knights. I'm sorry, you got it. Paladins are elite knights in service of the sovereign who have been granted powers by the divine right of the... Oh, that's in your world. Sure. Sounds good. That's a good way to do it.
Yeah, that's not how the player's handbook describes them.
No, but that's cool. And that's a way... And my question was exactly that. If you're going to call clerics, knights, templars, paladins have to have some other job, I think, that's at least somehow differentiated.
Right.
To me.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Paladin, I think the paladin class, apart from the description issues they have,
mm-hmm.
I like the difference in what they do.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I like it too. I just sometimes get caught up on the jobs overlap a lot with the paladin and cleric, and I kind of wonder, especially if you play a guy who's like a war cleric, and they build up on armor and weapons, and they're not much different from a paladin. Now, if you restrict them to maces, I guess that's a little bit. That's a different question.
Right. Well, we're getting ready to go down the rabbit hole of cleric weirdness where they can only use blunt weapons, which is stupid. But
I think 20.
Of course, there were reasons.
Yeah, I think he makes a good point. It's a thing to think about. So yeah. All right. But anything else you were thinking about with our game, or should we move into? Did you talk about Big Geek Emporium? What you were going to talk about? The POD?
Not a little bit. I hit on it. Say right, because we talked about playing. We talked about POD. Right. I probably need to improve the vendor experience a bit. Is he still here?
Who are you talking about?
Is he still here? David has been helping me out a bit and showing me some menus over at Drive-Thru to give me some ideas on what might help out. But yeah, the vendor experience needs to be improved. The customer experience, who cares? No, it's going to show up. You're going to hit buy or you're not. So it's not that complicated for the consumer.
Gotcha.
But for the vendor behind the scenes, it needs to be a little more smooth for them.
Anything else for Big Geek Emporium?
No.
Got a bit of an update, not a big one, on the Big Geek, Big Con we're going to do. I'm going to call working title Big Geek Con. I have contacted 3 locations via email. I'm waiting for a response, but I think tomorrow I'm going to go give them a call and maybe head down there by this Friday. I want to get a place that's excited to have us. I do want to throw something out to the people in the stream. If they have any inclination, some of you mentioned last week, you have an inclination to come out to Big Geek Con when it happens next year. And right now we're thinking September, so roughly 1 year from this month, not Labor Day. How important is it for you guys, for a small convention, that it all be held in one location? That is, you can have a hotel, because a hotel, and inside the hotel is where all the action happens. Or are you opposed to having to walk or even maybe drive a little bit to get to the location, a mile or two away, something like that? Is that Is that a deal breaker? Is it kind of something that you would find annoying? I have to admit, years going to Gen Con, I had a couple years where I stayed outside of Indianapolis. One year where I stayed several miles when it was in Milwaukee. I hated it. I hated driving in. When my hotel was connected is when I had the best times. So even walking a few blocks was not horrible, but a tad annoying just to get to the cool stuff. So I did like that VentureCon was all in one hotel. But I have a location in Saginaw that has a potential to be really good. And it doesn't have good hotel options. The other place, we could have it all in one hotel, but you would have to do more walking, not a lot, but a little bit more along a river. It'd be nice to do some cool restaurants and stuff like that. Might even get some live music. So I think I'm leaning toward one of those two spots, toward that spot. Joe said he thinks he'd prefer that. So yeah, people are saying I'd rather not walk short distance. Yeah, I'm not talking a big distance, Cal. I mean, I don't think I'd like to have people have to drive to the spot, especially if anybody comes out of state. I'd like them to get in a hotel. If they drive, park their car and just walk around, hang out there. But yeah, so
my opinion doesn't matter because I'll be able to drive there every day. I won't need to. I mean, if it's in Bay City, even if it's in Saginaw, technically it wouldn't matter. Yeah. I would be able to drive to the location every day. I wouldn't stay in a hotel. That would be
Arman's familiar. Midland's nearby is another city. I should look there. I kind of like the Bay City location because that's right on the river, but I bet Midland has some stuff. So I will keep looking. It looks like a lot of folks don't mind. CBK's driving from Georgia, so another mile wouldn't matter. That would be really cool. Yeah, we got some people that look to be interested. That would be, I tell you what, when we get this off the ground, if some of these folks show up, I can't wait. I'll be totally pumped to see you guys. It'll be fun.
It'll be awesome.
Yeah.
We'll have to have a friendly competition with VentureCon as far as attendees.
Yeah.
We beat you, ha.
Or
you beat us. We'll get you next time.
Woo! Yeah.
We'll get you and your little dog too.
Yeah. Bay City's where I'm leaning, but Arman, I don't know why I didn't think of Midland, but I have to look. I'll look at Midland there, Arman. Not a bad idea.
I'll be hoping for Bay City.
Yeah, that would be convenient for a lot of our folks, but I just want a good venue. I think Midland will not offer the price that I want. I think Bay City might.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Anyway,
that's alrighty.
Big. You want to tell them stuff since they're here? Tell them to do the things.
The things, are we talking about? Oh, we already talked about Big Geek Adventuring, right?
I have not exactly. I should talk about that. Then we'll do that. Big Geek Adventures is again the working title of our little my adventure writing quest. I have requested some art from someone on this stream, my buddy Patrick. Given him the first look at the module, very rough draft. He's going to tear it to pieces and tell me how I need to fix all the dumb stuff. He's an English guy. I would like to thank Taylor at Clerksware Ringmill for making a tutorial that I hope my dumb illiterate computer brain can follow, and I'll be able to make a pretty decent map. Don't expect anything fabulous, but I'm going to give it a try. I'm feeling pretty good. I want to start getting into nice form, and if I get to chat with David Guile tonight, I may even bend your ear on module writing, David. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Oh, Cal says he's in California. So if I go somewhere else to attend a con, that's what I'm worried about. So if Cal makes the trek from the
out of towners, it's probably better that we don't. We plan it so that they have to do as little driving or walking.
Absolutely.
Or whatever.
I want to keep them close by. So, but even if I have to put Cal in my guest room, so he can ride with me every morning.
I think he would not like that either.
He probably would not.
Even that's still traveling.
Yes.
Even if you're doing the driving.
That's true. And I'll be up bright and early every day. So
I mean, you would put him in the trunk, or on the hood.
Oh man, David is offering to spruce up the map. I may let you spruce. No charge. David, you might be my best friend now. Joe, get lost. Gerald Davis asked.
Remember who has the power of this particular. Okay.
Sorry, David. Joe's still the best friend. Okay. Gerald Davis asked, any playtest material? Hopefully soon. Yes. Maybe. That's the plan. I got the module written out. It's got to make it look nice. We got to finish it, though. Back to the original topic. We're not even close to getting... Well, we're about halfway through it, so... But.
Yeah, we play through it, yeah. Yeah, Yeah.
You got right to where we ended. It's crazy.
Well, we got to the spot, and then we were getting hammered.
Right, you had to retreat.
So we retreated. I think we weren't even getting. We got hammered by the freaking ogre.
The
ogre wasn't there? Was there?
Encounter. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had a random encounter that knocked our hit points down and spells and whatnot. And and there were going to be two of them.
Yeah.
We ran from the second one, who was most likely bigger.
Right.
So we ran from that, and by the time we got to the main thing, and then there was the goblins.
Yes, the goblins too.
The goblins didn't help.
You would think my goblins would be helpful.
No.
Oh, Cal says it's better to have him guarded. So Cal is going to be not unlike Ed Greenwood years ago at Gen Con. He's going to need a handler. So we'll get on that, Cal. You're going to have a handler, bud.
Right. So we had two encounters before we got back to like ground zero, and by the time we got to the like the front door of the module, so to speak, we were already low on hit points and spells, considering we only have one. Well, no, we had two casters.
Yeah. And
the Barbarian could only get healing from one of the two.
Yep.
So
yes,
we ended up having to go back to town.
Mm-hmm.
We hired a couple of archers as it's just were they considered retainers?
Retainers as per the rules, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And
so
they paid off. They were good.
And I rolled very well for them, so they look like a couple of budding.
Oh, look at that! Cal's popular. Tim wants to handle Cal, and Martinson wants to handle Cal.
Ooh!
All right.
2-on-1 handling.
So you are very welcome to come, Cal. As you can see, you're popular.
So we had a couple of budding Robin Hoods that my character hired.
Yep.
Because my character has the highest charisma.
Yep.
And so it worked out pretty good. And yeah, we probably would not have made it without the archers, most likely.
Patrick, don't tell them that. Dudes, not Cabin Con handling.
No. This is Big Geek Con, which is family friendly.
Right.
Cabin Con, not so much.
Right.
So
he's not into those guys, so he just wants me. I understand.
So I can just imagine, though, Randy. Imagine if my character wasn't the only one with a couple of retainers.
Right.
What if we had a whole? Everybody had a one or two.
Right.
That would have been. I think it would have got unmanageable, and we would have just plowed. We would have plowed through the module like it was nothing.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know how that. I don't know if that concept ruins the whole idea of an adventuring party.
So I think if we have, we should, as a group, probably if we get more, we should maybe one extra. Well, we were down 2 PCs though, so that makes a difference too. But I would say we should limit our combative retainers to maybe one more, and the rest we should just do camp followers and such.
Yeah. Cal says they just want his painted minis. Yeah, that's a fact, dude. Patrick and Tim both are big minis fan. You and Patrick could compare the massive collection of minis. Patrick has a huge one. All right. Anyway, I think that's all I got. You got anything else during updates and stuff, or be ready to tell them to do some things? We're
gonna give you some instruction, yo.
Yeah. Follow this very carefully. What Joe's about to put on the screen. It's vitally important. Subscribe.
Do it. Subscribe, like, share. Jump into chat if you aren't. They are talking about lots of stuff over there that I
They
couldn't
are.
keep up with.
I'm trying.
And it's in here. David Guile says, "Boo."
No, boo to the fact that I was not. He can't be my best friend. You have to be my best friend.
Why would you say boo to that?
He wants to be my best friend.
He has low standards.
Oh man, Legion transcribed instead of subscribed. We're in trouble now. Holy cow! Look at Cal. Holy cow, Cal! I'm about 4,000 painted, dude.
You know, you can become a machine with stuff like that. Once you get a good technique, you can set out sets, and then you get a color, and then you can paint that color on several minis, and then you can just rinse and repeat with different colors. But I have not gotten any kind of skill like that down yet.
CBK says, what's going to be the age limit? I'll have a 14 going on 15 who would love to play. He's 13.
We're not planning on having one, I don't think.
No, I will say that I am planning, I am willing to run a very kid-friendly game, probably for somewhere. I mean, I would go as low as the ages, probably 8 to 10. But yeah, I'd even do young teenagers. But heck, 13-year-old could play in my regular game. I don't do R-rated stuff. We don't plan on doing stuff like that. If someone did run an R-rated game, I would notate that in the schedule. So yeah, absolutely, he's welcome. The only issue, you bring a little baby or buddy Tim, that'd be hard to pull off. What are you laughing at?
Can you make the subscribe message bigger? My roommate can't see it from the couch.
I'll work on that, Indigo Dragon.
No, yeah. More likely, Max from Legion of Myth will work on it because, yeah, that's his anyway.
Max says he's out if kids are going to be there.
Oh well.
Oh, Max is going to be there. But yeah, don't worry about.
It's not like every table has to be that way. It's just the venue in general.
Yeah.
Tables can do what they want.
And I was thinking of them, Tim Scott. I absolutely want to run some games for your boy, but Tim's got a young one. One of our friends just had a baby too. You bring really small ones, not going to be much for them to do. But if they're into D&D, they can roll dice and they can halfway follow rules. And Cal acts like he's 14. So do I sometimes. So heck, 14's about right. 12,
yeah,
10, 9. I know the boys, they can play. Only one child per table. I may have. Well, you can, if you run your own adventure, you can say only adults. That's not a problem. I'm thinking I'm going to have an event. If there's enough coming, I'm just going to have an event where I'm going to say children. So if you're ages 8 to like 14, 15, you want to play with kids, that'll be it. I know teenagers sometimes get a little squirrely when you have little kids there. So, but there will be adult tables. There will be, yeah, absolutely. I can imagine that, especially in the evening. I'm trying to find a place that'll let us stay as late as we can because I know gamers love to play late. So that's one.
Right. So if it's going to be one massive conference room, that's one reason why we want it to be one way. But if it's going to be several adjoining conference rooms, right, we could designate one or more of them as the adult place.
And by adult, I just mean, you got to have like all sex crap in your games, but
right. So there's maybe the F-bomb flying around and
don't
stuff.
Watch your mouth. Don't worry about little kids.
Right. We could easily do that if it's if we have the space and we have the desire, we can easily do that. The reason that I insisted and Randy agreed on calling it family friendly overall,
yeah,
is what that will attract and what that will keep away.
Right. We hope.
Clearly designating it family friendly will give it a vibe where the people who the people that we will want to be there will be there, and less people that we wouldn't like to be there. We don't want to just single out by name or anything like that, because we don't want to do that. May not show up or may show up and behave appropriately. So we just want we want our friends with kids to bring their kids. And a lot of them, we don't want them to give them another have them have to pay to come and then pay a babysitter. So
okay, our
The groomer room.
Max Bovan. The groomer room. I'm not sure I want these dudes here. Look at Max. Legion of Myth. Instead of characters losing hit points, player loses clothes. I've seen some of you, and you me. I guarantee this will ensure everyone survives.
Right.
Okay, that was good. All right. Yeah, cool.
That's fine.
Yeah, games after 11. Someone mentioned that. Hey, we'll see what happens. Once we get it going, I'm going to talk to Avenger. I think I can get a website set up, or at least the tabletop event set up, and we'll see. Anybody that offers games, I'll put you in an 11 to 4 o'clock slot if you want. You won't find me there because Randy turns into a pumpkin 11 o'clock.
Right. Yeah. Players. Well, Legion of Myth says players have a horror factor of 16, especially when they are naked or nearer to it.
That would be generous for me, but yeah, 16. Okay. Shall we slide into the main topic then, since we've rambled on?
Let's slide in.
Yeah.
That doesn't have any extra meanings to it.
No, pay no attention to that. So our first, our topic here is I wanted to look at some great D&D modules and adventures, and we could talk about just list them. But the point is, Joe will have links for a couple of websites that list, not always complete. We found some of them were not quite on the ball with things, but we found adventures for each version of the game. And when I say version, I mean BECME, the old school games, and then AD&D, first edition, second edition, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, some of these lists are inaccurate.
But they're okay.
They're okay. At least it aggregates them together, and then they're easy to go through.
And so as you look, though, I was telling Joe before we get on here, I thought I would just type up some of the modules I've owned in the past. It was a heck of a lot harder than I thought because I had a bunch of them. So, but I've sold a big part of my collection, which I kind of regret now. But I mean, like I said, I've got a good bicycle off of that deal, so I can't really complain. But what I was really wondering was, I think the adventures of old, and it could be because of the era, not because of the adventure. When I went to conventions or met people that had been playing D&D in the past, say in the early 80s, I think experiencing a module adventure kind of gave us it bound us as like, oh, we had a similar experience, and how was your experience different than mine? And a lot of folks played adventure modules. You know, they didn't do all. There was definitely a group that played homebrew for sure, but there was a good enough people. If you mentioned Temple of Elemental Evil, someone would say, oh yeah, we played through that. And when my group did that, what happened whenever you got down and faced off against Lorette the Beautiful? How did you guys do? I think that's something that makes them kind of special. You know, at least some of those modules from that era. But it might have been a numbers game. There weren't as many RPGers then as there are now, I'm guessing. If 5e stuff is to be, I can't imagine that there are, because we're now grown up. We're in a world where playing D&D, first of all, is definitely cool. Second, we're seeing it in movies. It's part of the zeitgeist. So I can't believe that it's not a more popular game. But do you think the old modules kind of bound us together as gamers, as players?
I think it served in a way because we had a shared experience. We could talk about stuff like you said. What about the giant green mouth? How did you handle that? Well, I didn't. I got killed, you know. And, you know, how many people here stepped into the mouth? Right here. And then there's others that are like, no, I waited for everybody else to. And I'm like, I'm the only one who survived. So big green mouth, everybody who from back in the day should understand what that means.
Yeah.
So another thing we should say is potential spoilers ahead.
Yeah.
When we get into talking about specific modules, which I'm thinking we're going to do at some point, we're going to talk about specific modules. We might give things away a bit. Many of the ones we're going to talk about are decades old, so I'm not going to feel bad about spoiling any of them because they're freaking old.
I'm going to disagree with Mr. Max Boivin here. He says playing D&D is not cool. And he follows that up with, just because a bunch of weirdos join the hobby doesn't make it cool. Quite the opposite. I wouldn't say that. From my perspective, D&D is a super cool game. And someone that doesn't think it is, it's fine. You can call it nerdy, but maybe it's not cool in the sense that most people would think popularity cool stuff. But in this day and age, it kind of is.
It has a bigger cultural footprint than it did when back in the 80s. For sure. Cool is a subjective term. So
yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think I know what he's saying, though. I mean, you could make his argument, I think. How do you think, so other than just us playing the same module, do you think it's I can't say seminal scenes, because everybody thinks if you're playing Temple of Elemental Evil, I would label the encounter with Loreth the Beautiful one of the big encounters that I remember. But I've also only run the Village of Hamlet portion multiple times. Didn't make it all the way through the temple several times. I did make it through once, but I've also not made it through. I wonder if certain scenes in an adventure, certain scenes or encounters in adventures stand out to others. Like when you get to that spherical room in Lost Caverns of Sojanth and you realize she's not a princess. Spoiler, she's a vampire.
Yeah.
And a fighter too. So she becomes quite the combat encounter. Now the reward is great, but
yeah. If you survive that, holy crap. That's a haul.
In Tomb of Horrors, the Green Devil's Mouth will kill you. You get to the Demi-Lich, he will probably kill you. I mean, to be fair, the Tomb of Horrors is just death on a stick. So,
oh boy, talk about some luck surviving that.
Yeah, but these are the old school ones. For me, is it just because I'm old? I don't know if there's the closest module in my mind, and that's more in our group. I'm not sure if the other guys here that are listening. L says Randy. Is there a question, L, or you just maybe it's someone else? I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Okay, maybe he's not hearing me. Are you not hearing me? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I lost track.
Okay, I'm going to try to put a link here. Let's see if that works. There you go.
Dude, Crafty Matt just hit it on the head. Controversial opinion. I don't think so. Despite how 5e turned out, Lost Mines of Phandelver will go down as a great adventure. I think you're right, 10 or 20 years from now. Are there many of those? We older folks reminisce about old adventures. 1E, 2E, basic. 3rd edition, the only one I can think of that I would say, well, maybe 2. And this will be more our group. Rappan, Athuk. That's more from just reading it. We haven't played it a lot. I haven't. And when we have played is Rise of the Runelords. In our massive group of friends, I know of at least 3 different DMs that have run that campaign. And we've talked about it.
Right.
And then Crafty Matt just mentioned Lost Mines of Phandelver. I have 0 comment on 4th edition. Anybody that played heavy 4th edition, do 4th editioners have a module that they think could you put them with the likes of Keep on the Borderlands? Oh, sorry, you got something. Oh, see you, Legion. Take care, bud.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, Tomb of Annihilation, but isn't that a rejigger of Tomb of Horror, or is it different?
It's a continuation, I believe. They do use a Sarah rack, but it's a little more. It's a different twist. It's not just Tomb of Horrors. Yeah.
Lots of people talk about Kingmaker.
Yeah.
From Pathfinder.
Yep.
Which is, for all intents and purposes, 3rd edition with a different label.
Yeah. And that's Rise of the Runelords is also Pathfinder.
Correct.
Malachi says he thinks Sunless Citadel was the only 3E adventure converted to fight. Nope. Forge of Fury is also in there, bud. And I think Tomb of Horror is a 1E. But Forge of Fury, which, by the way, I do think the Sunless Citadel is a potentially classic 3rd edition era adventure. I thought it was really good. Keep on the Borderlands, for most people, only because it's one of the earlier adventures, would say yeah, that's cool, but Cal even says a good point. Keep on the Borderlands, he says, Keep has some problems. I agree. One of it is it's kind of dull when I look at it now, but it is a nice set piece to begin a campaign in, but there's not much motivation. Malachi. Forge of Fury was the second in a series of, they had blue outline on the modules. That was the first third edition module was Sunless Citadel, Forge of Fury, something of the Dream Speaker. I forgot. Then the last one was like Bastion of Broken Souls, which was a super high level adventure. I ran characters of 19th and 20th level through that, and it was really pretty cool, actually. And I agree with Crafty Matt. Isle of Dread is one of the better older modules.
Yeah, Isle of Dread. That's Isle of Dread. That has King Kong on it, essentially, right? Did I remember that correctly?
I think you're thinking of Isle of the Ape.
Isle of the Ape, yeah.
But Isle of Dread had some dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs.
And it's a really good sandboxy style adventure.
Though you probably would have issues with people if you made that module and released it right now. Because aren't there kind of primitives on there?
Yeah.
On the Isle?
Yeah. It would hurt people's feelings.
Yeah. It'd hurt them in the fields, though it'd still be fun.
L asks, is it Keep more like a setting? That's fair. That's a fair statement.
That's fair.
And Isle of Dread could also be a setting. And yes, Malachi Keep has the Caves of Chaos. I don't have my original modules, but I do have the Goodman Games Adventures. What's it called? Reincarnated. I got all of them. So, and I'm getting Dark Tower soon too. So that's pretty sweet. I tell you what, I don't know. Has anybody had much experience with organized play adventures?
I do.
Those, huh? You do.
I do.
And I did a little bit of Pathfinder Society. Do any of those stick out in comparison to the classic adventures of any edition?
Only is, in my opinion, a third edition RPGA modules were horrible.
Really?
So our shared experience was, this sucks. We're going to get through it so we can level our characters.
Yeah. So it was just a mechanical game. Yeah. I think even when I played Pathfinder Society, I played in year 0 at Gen Con. I ran some games. Year 0, and Pathfinder was new. We got the books in advance. We ran year 0 we ran 3.5 rules. Then year 1 we had the Pathfinder book. And while they had some decent stories, I do think Paizo, at least back then, probably wrote better modules than Wizards. The way people played them tend to be, I want to get through this. What kind of magic items can I buy at the end? They had a weird rule about at the end you get all this gold, you split it up, and you can buy these magic items from the module. So every player could have the +1 sort of coolness, even though there was only one in the module. I found that really weird.
Yeah.
Cal, Tomb of Annihilation, he says, is so dangerous. It really grinds to a crawl. I did not enjoy playing it. I don't know. Tomb of Annihilation is not one of the 5e books that I have. I agree with Crafty Matt. Outside of the D&D sphere, I think Sailors of the Starless Sea for DCC is going to be a classic because I hear a lot of people loving that one. And I have to run it.
You have it?
I do have it, but you won't like it. It's a funnel.
Well, that's not much. That's not much of a module.
Yeah. Oh no, it's a thick little module. It's actually not bad. It's probably
but it's the whole thing's a funnel, or it starts with a funnel.
I think the whole thing's a funnel. Am I right, Crafty and Malachi?
How can it be very thick? Mm-hmm. Funnels aren't supposed to. A funnel is supposed to be a one evening.
I would think so. Oh, thick. Maybe thick's not the right word. It's a solid, full-fledged adventure. He says it can be run as a normal adventure as well. Okay. Just because it's a funnel, yeah. I agree with Patrick. I do think that DCC modules are the current Cadillac in terms of production value. I do agree with that. They look really nice. I've got a handful of them. I don't see the one. Hold on a second. I'm going to grab one. Let me see. Don't know if you can still hear me, but
Yeah. Malachi says it's a funnel, but you can run it with level 1 characters. I'd love to run it with C&C castles and
Castles and Crusades.
Crusades. Okay.
Yeah, you got it. This is the one that I got several of them, but this is the chained coffin. It's a box set. I haven't opened it yet. I got this dirt cheap at some game store was selling that, and I think they're beautiful. I love the artwork. I mean, I love this kind of throwback to old school, a little bit over the top. And was it Kovalik, I think, is the artist? But I think DCC has they have a niche of people that just love those modules.
Kovalik, the same guy who does the art for.
I'm wrong. Is it Kovalik?
Because Kovalik does the art for the Munchkin cards.
I could be confused. Not Dave Kovalik. Who is the guy? Who is their big dude? Does anyone know? 24 to 36 pages. Yeah, they're the old form. Doug Kovacs. Thank you, Malachi. Kovacs. Got confused. Yeah. I think the art, Cal hit it. Cal, the art is evocative. I think in a lot of the modules, when I would go to a store, even back in the day, that's what drew me in. When I saw that collected Temple of Elemental Evil, Joe, you have that one, don't you? You have it handy?
Yes, okay. Temple of Elemental Evil.
Dude, this was
cool.
Yeah, that's a third-party Lich Lords. That's a high-level one.
Isn't that's the one where they have the crowns?
Yes.
If you beat them and you get those crowns,
they're multiple Liches. Yeah. There was the original little booklets, Village of Hamlet, and then Temple of. Yeah, this is the super module.
It's a very worn module. Oops.
Very loved.
Out.
His pile of his different maps. But I love that. That was so when I saw that, it was just snagged it, and I had to have it.
I wish I had it in better shape. You'd be able to see the art a bit better. Mm-hmm. But that's really cool.
I kick myself for getting rid of those now. I got rid of them too soon. Yeah, but back to organized play. Even though they're meant to bring people together, I think the experience just wasn't, I didn't feel it was the same as when I used to talk with people and they go, "Did you ever play against the Giants?" "Oh yeah, dude, that was great, blah, blah, blah." It doesn't seem to, I don't know, resonate with me anyway. As much.
Yeah, I think numbers you were alluding to earlier, the numbers in our hobby probably does have an effect on that.
Yeah.
If it's a larger group, and it seemed more special, perhaps because it was a smaller group of people talking about it, as opposed to now. And the module, there were few in number, right? At that point,
right?
Like in the AD&D era, there were several, but still, compared to now, it's few in number. Right now, you can get crap tons of modules if you need them. A lot of free stuff from lots of different people. Back in the day, you really had maybe one or two third-party purveyors of D&D materials, and they barely got away with it without getting sued.
Yeah, true.
So I'm sure they had to buy a license, and it was not cheap, and that's why there were very few people doing it.
Yeah.
So you had a few more modules. So you had more. It seemed like you had. I don't know how to verbalize it. It just seemed more intimate. Is not the right word.
The experience felt more intimate. There weren't as many players. D&D wasn't as quite popular. Okay, I'll use popular instead of cool, Mr. Bovan. And it seems special. I think 3rd edition and the OGL, when they started bombarding the land with modules and adventures, I mean, as a DM, I loved it. I bought a bunch, and some good folks came out. a good adventures. Like I think Wolfgang Bauer created something that was pretty good. I had one of those. Iron Man Judges Guild, dude. Yeah, that was a popular thing. He said he was all about those. Tegel Manor, that was famous. Though I don't recall that one being very good. Maybe you can correct me on it. I read that multiple times. I own the original. Well, I don't know if it was the first print, but it was the newspaper version with the bluish cover, and I thought it was the most boring sounding adventure I'd ever read. But
is that the one where they go on and on about that one dude's art who's now not a dude?
No, you're thinking
Tegel
of
Manor, or is that some other Judges Guild thing?
That was Dark Tower.
Dark Tower.
Turquoise used to be Paul's, now not Julie. What's his name?
Some J word.
Anyway, yeah. Janelle Turquoise. That sounds right. Anyway, yeah. Tegel Manor. I don't have Blackmore. Cal has Tegel Manor. I didn't enjoy that one very much. Janelle, thank you, Malachi. Janelle Turquoise. So anyway.
But you don't remember it being good.
I don't remember being good. Yeah. It was not particularly. I had it for the longest time, and it had a great little fold-out map. Let me rephrase that. It had a great, huge fold-out map of this fortress, manor fortress. It was a manor, but it was like a fortress, and it was. It looked cool. Maybe as a young guy, I just thought, it doesn't read very. I was more into the action. I wanted modules that right into the fight. It just didn't seem to. But I'm sure those that have played it go, oh no, Randy, you're missing out. I know when I was younger, though I played it, I didn't like Castle Amber that much, but I ran a piece of that at a little tiny portion of that at VengerCon, and Castle Amber is now one of my favorite gonzo little, what do they call those? Roller coaster ride adventures.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, it's unpredictable unless you've played through it, then you know what to expect. But if you've never played in this kind of a module before, it is very. If you want predictable, if you want to know that you have enough spells and hit points and all that stuff, you've made your character correctly. Yeah, none of that matters.
No.
You really have to be a skillful player, I think, to get through it as written.
Yeah.
Without just running from everything.
Yeah.
I mean, you could run around it in circles or whatever and stay there forever.
Which, if you want the adventures to be tailored to your abilities, play 3rd edition. And I'm not pooping on it. I like it. There's a time where that was fun. It was really fun. And if you want it to be tailored, play 3rd edition. If you want an easy time, in my opinion, play 5th edition. But to be fair, I've played little to no official modules in 5th edition.
So it may not. I mean, my general opinion may not be accurate. I think 5th edition is D&D with bubble wrap around it.
Yeah, and handrails, because as is, it's killing characters has to be kind of, you have to purposely try. My plan is to kill characters, so I'm going to do this. Folks talked about last week about exhaustion and stuff, and so that sounds pretty brutal.
Right.
Is there a difference?
So
Go ahead.
Now, I'm just wanting to reinforce the kind of module that Castle Amber is probably not something that would be popular with lots of people these days, at least not initially. So if you're used to the likelihood of your character surviving being high, and your mental faculties not being taxed high, then this module may not be your cup of tea. But it might be, that style of play could become your cup of tea once you get in there and play it the way it was meant to, by just sheer luck sometimes, because your skill can, in a lot of places, doesn't matter. It's just sheer luck, like the table setting.
Yeah.
There's no way to know what to do with that. You're just lucky if you pick the right stuff.
Mm-hmm. Crafty says you have to go 3rd party to really find great adventures for 5e. I think I agree with that, because the ones that I've played have been, when I ran my campaign for a year, levels 1 to 10 of 5e, the best adventures were 3rd party stuff. Yes, Patrick. Does anyone remember White Plume Mountain? Dude.
I not only remember it, I own it.
Dude,
much like the hair club for men.
look
But
at that.
mine's beat up.
I cannot wait until or if they do White Plume Mountain reincarnated, because I need to get that, because I just don't want to pay the money to buy those old modules again, but I would take one of those reincarnated. Yeah. Do you think so there's a difference between good modules and good memories, right?
Sure. So it's probably, you could probably put up some objective measures on what makes a good module, even though the word good is subjective. You may be able to have some qualifiers that say whether this module is good or not. And maybe a lot of the old modules that we played wouldn't be able to live up to that standard, especially when it comes to production value, because a lot of them didn't have high production value, because that didn't exist a lot back in the day. There's some evocative art, but overall, the interiors were kind of lackluster. A Judge's Guild was bad at that. I mean, when you look at some of their early stuff, it's not great.
Right.
But that was state of the art at the time for production value in gaming.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't a lot of money to be made, so you couldn't spend a lot of money on your product.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a lot of stuff that we have access to these days, where you can produce something on your computer for cheap.
But you know what? For production quality, I would give it to you, though I think there were some, like I think the Tomb of Horrors guys in first edition, I think that was the first adventure where they gave you a pack of maps and visual aids to show to the players. I love those. You got that in Lost Caverns. You got that in Temple of Elemental Evil. I don't know if they had all the pictures, but I know that was really cool. To me, that was a good production value. They got much better. But, I mean, now they're slick and stuff, but I don't know if they're better. I mean,
Correct, because slick, nice. Yeah. And I would say the older modules, maybe they lacked in story content. They hit the highlights, and then you had to fill in. But that, to me, is also a good thing. It's not as much of a railroad maybe as more modern modules are, where the DM has everything laid out for him. He just has to conduct the train. And
yeah, my sensibilities have changed, and I look back at those old modules, and then since I've got the reincarnated ones, when I'm flipping through, that's exactly what I'm thinking. I'm like, dude, they're giving me all kinds of room to do my own thing. So yeah, I think the older modules, while they weren't like, I would say Pathfinder Adventure Paths during the Pathfinder Era 1E, they wrote some good stories, but they were pretty, I wouldn't say, people would say they're railroads. I don't know.
Elle says, Joe, you have to think about printers also. Modules aren't good housekeeping magazine print. Lucky they are not newsprint. Right. Back in the day, they did what they could. I'm not saying that they purposefully made crappy stuff. But when you look over time, even by the time second edition rolled around, production values started to get better, because it was cheaper to make those production standards. Whereas when the game started out, making a module or a book. I mean, think about the early the little pamphlets, right? The box set. That was very low production value. They printed it off of I don't know what they printed it off of, because we have much different machinery nowadays. But they did what they could with the resources that they had, and I understand that.
Malachi says Dragon Mountain. That was a module, but that was also kind of a setting. I just responded Night Below. That's another box set. CBK Plus says Return to White Plume Mountain. Was that one of the Silver Anniversary adventures, or is that a third edition adventure? I'm trying to remember. I can't recall that. Crafty Matt's got a boogie.
See you later, Crafty.
Yeah, take care, bud. Yeah, I remember. Do you remember the silver ones where they did Silver Anniversary edition of Keep? I had Keep. I had Against the Giants. What was the other one? There was another one too.
Yeah, I think Maliki and you are right. I think that's a 3rd edition thing. Silver Anniversary. They came out with a bunch of return twos type thing. Yeah,
those were 2nd edition modules. The silvers were.
They were 2nd edition.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I think they came out near the end just before they switched to 3rd. That was
maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And they're going for a pretty penny now if you have them in good shape. But then again, so is most things. Iron Man this is exactly true. I think where I'm feeling it too.
Ooh.
Oh, sorry. Letting DM fill in the details makes it easier to run. Agreed. Most of the bling and story detail is lost on the player.
I have to do something right quick. I'll be right back.
I got this. The DM experiences it mostly. It markets for the sale, but is mostly. Yeah, I agree. And that's frustrating, isn't it, Iron Man? When you read one of those, like a Pathfinder game, and there's all these cool, great details, and the players never get to it because they really don't have a reason to seek it out. Thank you, El. That's true. There was also a Return to White Plume for 3E online for free. I have that one. I wish I had not sold my Silver Anniversaries. Those were super cool, not just for the value, but they would have been great play copies back when I had the original too. I had the originals. I was God, guys. I mean, I got a bunch of crap back here, but honestly, that's not even half of what I used to have. Patrick can verify. He's seen my original collection. If this pile was on top of that, I would need 2 rooms to keep my crap together. I don't know what the heck I was thinking. I was never going to play through all those. Indigo Dragon says, are there any great modules from the AD&D 2E campaign setting era? For sure. Let me do a little something here while we're waiting for Joseph to come back. He's going to get scared because I'm liable to use some technology here. You know how dangerous that is, guys. I'm going to get you all and get myself into some trouble. I'm going to try to share the screen while Joe's not here. Don't tell him. Let's see here. Okay. There we go. Share. And here is a boatload. It claims to be 2E. There might be some 1E. See if you guys can see this in StreamYard. So you'll notice a Paladin in Hell. You can argue how good it was. Ooh, Liberation of Jeff. That is the Against the Giant Silver Anniversary. Fantastic. Cleric's Challenge 1 and 2, a little weak. Dragonlance stuff, not my cup of tea. I did really enjoy the Eye of Pain, Eye to Eye. Those were the both source books and adventures based on the Beholders. They had some with the Beholders, a 3 module series. Feast of Goblins had a lot of. That's a Ravenloft one. You said great modules. Greyhawk Ruins. I don't think I've played that. Labyrinth of Madness. That's a tough high-level module. Gerald Davis asked, had I ever ran one? Yeah, I ran that back in the day. You better be pretty tough to run through that guy. So, yeah, to answer your question, Indigo, there are some bunches. Let's see if, too bad Max left. The Planescape modules I loved. What else did I really like? There's another couple of the Silver Anniversary ones. The Apocalypse Stone, that's a hit and miss. Good old Lost Caverns of Sojanth. You can't beat that with a stick, man. That is one of the boss adventures around. A sweet adventure. Box set, The Rod of 7 Parts. They had that. They also had Return to the Tomb of Horrors. So, yeah, bud, there is just a truckload of really good adventures from that era. I don't know where to even begin as to whether they're really that, which is better than the others. I know I had my favorites. Night Below, I never had. Joe did. I owned Dragon Mountain. Crypt of Lazarus the Mad. Yeah, that was really good. I think in 2nd edition, honestly, had some of the best. So, Barrowmaze, Iron Man. That's a newer, old school adventure by what's his name? who's the guy that did that? I want to say Glenn something, but that doesn't sound right. Absolutely love the second edition modules. Dead Gods, cool conceptually, not great the way it played out. The Great Modron March, I thought was really cool, pretty open-ended. Those are some of my favorites. Yeah, I don't know in second edition if they've had as many, if there's hasn't many good modules to match the second edition era, in my opinion. I think they were really good. Gillespie, right. Thanks, Malachi. Yeah, it was something Gillespie who did the Barrowmaze. Very supposed to be a very cool old school type adventure. For my money, as far as great modules, I think leaving it open-ended, letting the DM do what they want. I don't want to say minimal story, but they weren't overly detailed on the story. It makes it easier and more fun to run. People are just ripping off some really good old school adventures. I think you can take, right now, I would take second edition adventures and convert them to whatever version of the game I'm playing. I don't think I would, worry too much about having gruesome detail, but I would just say, well, there's a red dragon here. I'll put a red dragon from this adventure or from this edition. But truth is that would probably mess with the challenge level, but whatever. Yeah, I think Malachi's fair here. He likes 2E rules, but prefer 1E module. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to tell him myself, Joe. I shared a screen while you were gone.
It worked?
It worked. I think so. So, who was it? Indigo Dragon asked that if there are any good second edition modules. And I think second edition had some of the best. Though there's an argument that first edition was, better, maybe. But
there's a difference, I think, between maybe judging it on certain like production quality, like I was talking about, maybe content somewhat. There's a character too that first edition modules had that I think most other editions lacked.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the unpredictable nature.
Right.
There were often encounters that were well above the average party level. There was also the 1E and 2E thing, mm-hmm. where you could have a spread of levels.
Yes.
Right? So you could have anywhere from, you could have a 5 or 6 level spread.
9 to 12 was not uncommon for the mid to high levels.
Right. And third edition on, it was always everybody's same level.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that changed the nature of the game, I think, too, because they tried to make all of the character classes on par power-wise, which they've always failed at, especially with casters. But
Elle is right. I think the drawback was, I think 1E, he says, weren't 1E less linear? I think that's true. They were a little more wide open.
You had goals, but not necessarily a specific way to get them.
Second edition started to lean into the story. I love Dead Gods, but I talked about it before. There's a start of that adventure for Planescape where I can't remember precisely what it said, but they come to this gate town and they go to this bar and they'll see these people and they'll approach them. And I'm like, my players may not even go to the bar. They literally have no reason to go to this bar. They can go somewhere else. And they won't go to those people just because you said they would. There was a lot of that. I think and that happened more frequently. I think they were leaning into the story, especially near the end of second edition run. Though I never ran the ones that CBK Ply was talking about. I had them like the Star Cairn Crypts and the Crypt of Lazarus the Mad. I think these were modules set inside Undermountain. So, yeah. What did Elle say? Planescape had a gay town. Some would say all the towns in Planescape are gay, but I would not. They may have. That would not be. Every place.
I don't remember that.
I don't remember that at all. But
there might be there are the sensates that might have had. There might have been some blurb in that whatever material was written for that. But
back in second edition, I don't remember talking much about sexuality at all.
No. And even with I don't remember us doing a whole lot with
We
the
never-
sensates anyway.
No, but for me, they were just like trying weird potions, licking a wall. Sensates believed in trying everything. Even yeah, Patrick said that was who I was thinking of. Max Patrick said that Max would say that that all of Planescape is gay. I think the first time I noticed any discussion of me paying any attention to any kind of gay anything was in Pathfinder and Rise of the Runelords in that town. What is it called? Not Suncrest. What is that little town? Sandpoint. They had a gay couple. And even when I read it, I'm like, why are you telling me this? I literally don't even care.
Yeah. Dragonlance. Dragonlance was a thing unto itself. There might have been other module runs similar, but I think the ones that maybe it's just the ones that we were exposed to that were like what we're talking about. They had goals, but you had multiple ways of attaining them, or the module provided you with a play area, a dungeon, a wilderness set, stuff like that, and you didn't have to follow a script. In Dragonlance, none of that. You had to follow the script.
Yeah, L was saying he thought that's what I said about a gay town. I was probably in full Randy talking fast mode. So yeah.
Maybe he meant Happy Town.
Maybe I did. Randy says you're not. Max Bobbin says you are not caring. You not caring is probably a hate crime. True, correct. If you don't care about the gayness, then you're hating them. Obviously, when I say I don't care, that's what I mean. Do it if you got to. It doesn't affect my game. I'm not into it. And I mean, I'm into representing it. I'm not into representation. There you go. I'm in trouble.
You're in trouble.
The adventure. Yes, Cal. I must be watched. Hey, when Big GeekCon comes along, we can watch each other. I can be your handler to make sure you don't get in trouble, and you can be my handler.
Now he has 3?
No, it'll just be me and Cal. I think it's a special thing. I don't want that to. I don't want to ruin.
That sounds gay.
Now, I know, but it's not. It's completely platonic, gay sounding. So, anyway, handling each other, Malachi, in a friendly way. that doesn't help. That doesn't help. Next,
I don't. So, CBK Ply, I think, or no. Where is that? Who is it? Someone just shared. I can't remember who it is. Just shared an image of Crypt of Lysandrid the Mad. So
yes.
It's not. It wasn't. The other name. Someone had a different name, but it was Lysandrid the Mad.
Yeah, they had a series of adventures for Forgotten Realms that was all set in Undermountain, and they were connected through the Undermountain thing. Yeah. I remember this one. Man of War, Neighbor the Beast. He just dug out the tote with part of his 1E collection. Found 3-5 Desert of Desolation series. Fantastic series. Hope it remains forgotten by WotC. You don't want them to ruin it, huh? Yeah.
I have one of those. Yeah. Don't I have one of the Desert of Desolation over here? We talked about it.
Pharaoh. You have the Pharaoh.
Yeah. Oasis of the White Palm.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Was that
Oasis of the White Palm is a very, very cool cover.
I think that was put into a super module once too. I know the Slave Lord series was put into a super module. Against the Giants was with the Silver Anniversary and Temple, but I'm not sure about the others. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, Crypt of Lysandrid. I had that. That's cool. Yeah, it was a super module. Thanks, Omanel. Yeah, those were great. I had probably all those at one time. Man.
So we're sharing the cover of Crypt of Lysandrid the Mad, or Lysandrid, however you pronounce it. It's not something that I'm familiar with. So
hold on, I'm going to grab a module.
Is this Sean Reynolds the same Sean K. Reynolds?
I don't think so.
Salt Marsh. Yeah, I remember people talking about Salt Marsh modules, Malachi, but I don't know that I've played in any.
For third edition, I have yeah, you did, Joe, because we played in I ran Danger at Dunwater multiple times.
Okay, so I stand corrected.
Yeah. Here is one of the 3rd edition modules that I thought were pretty cool. Expedition. You can't hardly read that. Expedition to the Demon Web Pits. I have the one to the Ruins of Greyhawk and for Castle Ravenloft. And they did some of this. We're putting monsters in the back. And I think, let me see if I, yeah, this was kind of interesting. So you would have a scene, and I'm not sure how much of that I can show. It's called the Ambassador to Pazuzu. And then they would put a battle map. So the map would be right on the page.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like that, but sometimes I would get lost because you would need to have, I don't know if they must have had a full-fledged map of the whole adventure somewhere. Yeah, they would. And then they would expand as needed on the scene. So that wasn't a bad way to do it. I would place these adventures pretty high on my list as WotC adventures that I thought were excellently put together. Though it may not be to everybody's taste. It does say it's a campaign adventure for levels 9 to 12. So that was kind of the exception rule.
Patrick is asking if that is a return to the Queen of the Demon Web Pits.
Not a return.
Kind of thing.
Kind of. It's the expedition. I have expedition.
Right. But what he's asking is this a sequel type of thing to the Demon Web Pits, or a reimagining, or something like that, retelling?
More like a sequel reimagining. It was not a reprint, so you were playing a new adventure. I thought it was pretty cool. Ooh, look what CBK's going to do. He's going to run Lysander the Mad at Big Geek Con. Sweet. That sounds good. Sounds good. Patrick, or what is it? Patrick asked the question earlier, too. A good question. I was doing that as I left. He says, who was it that claimed that companies shouldn't make modules because they make no money? Well, I had heard back in the transition from 3rd to 3.5, and I believe Malachi answers it, that it wasn't a lot of money in module making because only one in a group would buy it. Malachi responded, he thinks it was WotC. That's why the hardcovers are taking over multiple levels, usually pretty close to 20. So back in the 3rd edition era, they were saying modules just weren't making that much money, but it was pretty hard to create a game and then not support it and expect people to play it. If you create a game and say just make your own adventures, I get that was kind of the thing early on, but I think now people expect modules to show up. Gerald Davis, when is Big Geek Con? We'll be telling you shortly. We are working on it, so I expect you, your brother, and your father to be up here for that. So that's some family. I got to get my family to come to this. That'd be cool.
That'd be awesome.
You guys can meet other nerd-like people like me. Yeah, I think that's the plan, CBK. We'll see what happens. I'll have right now it's tentative. Anyway.
Yeah, I think that whether or not modules make money has never been a solid thing throughout the history of our hobby. Sometimes they're money makers, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they put too much money in the module itself, in the production of it, and then it doesn't probably make, especially the box set modules from second edition. I think at that time they were so costly. Some people say that having the box sets of the settings was why they didn't make money. Per se. And I think that it's probably they spent too much money on them. If they would have sold them as paperback or hardback books that were shorter, instead of having full-blown box sets for most of them, they probably would have done much better. But modules the same way. It could be at particular times that producing them was expensive and they couldn't make their money back on them because they didn't sell enough. And that could be because of their marketing. That could be because they were poor modules. It may not be because modules don't make money. It could be that their module people didn't know how to do modules. So there's too many factors to consider to just say modules don't make money.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, I think that's true. Well, let's go back. We have some good comments here. They're getting lively. L said, Randy, to me, someone recently commented on that 5 modules are 1 AP, but now most books are for players. Yeah, that's weird in 5e. They throw a lot of stuff for players in these books. Patrick followed up. Now, I wonder if this is true. DCC seems to have mastered making money with modules. They're at least making them. I wonder if they're making lots of money.
Well, I think that it's possible that they are. I don't know their numbers.
I don't know either.
But it's also possible that they have. It's one thing. I think they've developed a following, a very loyal following, and they support their followers by putting out material for them that is congruent with their brand. So I think that they have a good. If their modules are making money, and they seem to have consistent releases, I think that they just are. They are doing it right when it comes to the people that like their products.
And near the end of 3rd edition, Paizo destroyed that concept because they were originally a module making company. They just made APs. Omanal makes a good point. He's followed by Indigo Dragon. He says, players buy books, but DMs are collectors. Probably true. Indigo Dragon, thinking that modules don't make money is wrong thinking, considering that the RPG industry is fueled by GMs. It's GMs that buy the majority of our... I think, dude, I know in my groups, I am definitely one of the top people when it comes to buying RPG. Always have been. They've got to be making some, but to me, it feels like you could have... You could afford for at least a couple of modules to be loss leaders to get people into your game. Know what I'm saying? If they didn't make money. What do you think, Joe?
Say that again.
I think you could. I think if modules didn't make money, they're still worth your time for a little bit. For a big company, they could be loss leaders. You could, make a module knowing that only the DM is going to buy it and say, well, I'm not selling to everybody, but we're not going to have the same volume, but you're keeping people playing by having those modules.
You can do that with digital downloads because they're less expensive to support from the company. They don't have to have as many copies on hand. So, it all depends on how you structure your thing. I think a company not every company can support having a loss leader, because for some companies, it could be too much of a loss. They can't sustain doing that over time. So many small companies, they need their products to do well. And I think the DCC folks, most likely they have just developed a great fan base. Yeah. And they play to that fan base. Whereas Wizards of the Coast, they're developing a fan base, but is their fan base actually buying their stuff and all that? I think that their goalpost changes are too frequent and their missteps are too frequent for them to you to be able to say that they are fostering a good fan base. DCC, on the other hand, seems to be doing it right, and Paizo was doing it right for a while.
And they still might be. I don't know how 2nd edition. It's not doing like 1st edition, but it must have maybe some people. I don't know. I don't play 2nd edition. You think this is true? Darthea chimed in here. They're talking about supplying material. He says, I usually supply most of the material used for any game, if not all of it. The only players that I had that owned their books are other DMs. That's not true. I mean, I started with OSE. First session, I think me and I'm not sure if anyone else had the book. Maybe Jeffrey did. Now, everybody's got a copy of the book. I mean, you guys are pretty good at like, hey, we're going to play this for a while. So
if it looks like we're going to play a game, get the base book at least.
Yeah, and that's not a big investment, like $40 or whatever it was. So
I would have preferred it being a little less, but it wasn't horrible.
It's got a lot of. Why would a player need a book? I'll ask the question.
Well, it depends. If the company provides a what is it called, where their rules are for free online,
an OGL type guide,
an OGL type thing, then the player may not need a book.
Correct.
So
I don't begrudge them. I don't care about the book or not. Just realize that if we're playing and I'm the only one with the book, it's going to be hard to pass it around, and you won't have a chance to do much. We're not going to spend all day you reading all the time. So Yeah, so we can't, you're not going to get to study the book at the table. I think most players, SRD. Thank you, El. That's the word we're looking for.
SRD. Yeah, SRD.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you have an SRD, then a lot likely the players don't need to buy a book, and it provides them with kind of an easy on ramp to the game. So once you get to playing a bit, you could potentially buy the book, or if you don't end up liking the game as a group, you don't. You don't buy it.
No, but I do think if you're going to play D&D, I would say that the players should buy the core book. I mean, if it's going to be something you guys are enjoying and playing a long time,
sure.
Or maybe it's just me. I would buy it. I don't want to be able to read the player stuff, at least a player's handbook.
Back in the day, that equivalent, sure.
In first and second edition, if players showed up, and once we were heavy into it, especially in second, I expected everybody to have their own player's handbook. That doesn't mean I wouldn't deal with it, but I expect them to have the player's handbook, dice, and either paper or character sheets. I just did. It didn't mean I didn't have a backup, but it's kind of silly. If you're going to participate in something, participate, and don't just mooch off everybody else all the time.
Yeah, and then it can depend on the game, because some games have very expensive books. And if it's $60, $70 or more, some people, I'll balk at paying more than what, I mean, I paid $40 for the Old School Essentials book. And I was like, this is probably the most I want to pay for a game book, especially of its form factor, right? Because it's digest sized, fairly thick for a digest sized.
Yeah, it's pretty thick. You got the advanced one, right?
Advanced fantasy,
yeah.
And I mean, I've heard some quotes on some of these books, and then some of these games are Kickstarter games.
Yes.
So, and then you those kicks, and they're usually expensive to get the main book in it. That's not a PDF. So if you get your print book out of a Kickstarter, it's probably $100. And not everybody wants to. Even if you can drop $100 on, technically drop $100 on the book, you may not want to.
Well, what's that beast? Weird Frontiers that I just got, that Weird West game. You saw a huge thing. That's an $80 book probably when you get it on the shelf. Maybe $70. I don't expect, if we ever play that, we're all just going to deal with that book. That's too much.
Yeah.
I would be, if someone wanted to buy it, I'd be great, but don't buy it because one, I'm probably not playing it that long. Two, that's $70 you shouldn't have to spend. I got it, cheaper. I got several things for $60. So, yeah. Anyway, anything else about modules? I'm feeling kind of like maybe I've said most of what I wanted to say. Do you have other things you wanted to add in? Maybe something I forgot?
I don't think so. Let's see here. No, I don't think so. I mean, do we think that we're going to at some point grab a particular one or set of and talk about them?
I almost consider that this time. Why don't we plan on that next time? We'll have a segment. Let's you and I read one that we both have, which I don't know if we both have one. We had talked about Lost Caverns, but I don't know what you have. We could pick a module and read it, at least hit the highlights and study it a little bit. Ones that hopefully you've played in and I've run that we could talk about. You said you had White Plume Mountain. You don't have Castle Amber, do you?
No.
Let's talk about it offline. We'll figure it out. So, yeah. Anyway.
All right. So if we're going to transition.
Yeah.
Subscribe, folks. Those who are just listening and have not done so, please, if you're coming here after the fact and enjoying our rambling about gaming, please subscribe. Hit the bell notification. Hit the thumbs up. Everything that activates the algorithm, such as it is. Sometimes the algorithm is hard to get a beat on as far as what makes it tick, mainly because they keep changing. But yes, please subscribe, like, share, do all the stuff.
Yeah. I think, Arman, are you asking this for us? It says, please ignore spoilers and talk about the good stuff, the hook, the boss fights, or other adventure ideas. Ignore spoilers. What does he? So don't talk about spoilers. That's going to be hard to do for an old module. If he's asking that of us.
If we talk about the boss fights, that's a spoiler in and of itself.
I'm not sure what he means.
But it depends on what he means, particularly by spoilers, like how this particular puzzle is solved. We probably won't talk about that.
I definitely will do that, but I will
avoiding
say
key areas that are death traps and stuff. Yeah, we probably don't need to do that.
Yeah, but we'll talk about how we twisted things too. That's always fun. David Gile, if you're still listening, Joe.
No.
Joe, if you would contact David if he's not listening. I can't talk tonight. I forgot I'm getting up bright and early. Randy's about to go get pumped up early in the morning, so I don't want to stay on late after the show and chat, but I do want to chat with David. Could you share my email with him? Are you an email contact with Dave?
Yes.
Then we'll set up a time to chat sometime.
We actually use modern things like Discord.
Huh. Discord. What is this Discord you speak of? Sounds like trouble, like people don't get along. There's discordance, but okay. Oh, our man saying module reviews without spoilers are horrible, so don't be afraid.
Oh, okay. Ignore. Yeah.
Elle's agreeing with me that sometimes the GM does have to share the books with the players. Yeah, I mean, that's cool. But I also think at some point, if you're playing a game like D&D and you and your group of 5 or 6 players have been playing for 2 or 3 years, people should probably pony up and get their own player's handbook. When the DM's player's handbook's all beat up, we might need another one.
It's really annoying sharing a book around a table of 4 or 5 people.
Yeah, David, he's on now, so I'll tell him. Joe's going to share my email with you. I can't chat tonight because I'm getting up very early in the morning to go work out and pump myself up. And so we'll have to chat sometime soon because I want to bend your ear on a couple of things. So, David, hopefully not tonight, but sometime soon we can get together. On Discord, I'll learn how to use it. Actually, I know how to use it. I'm just being a doozy.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's do the last segment. I'm not sure how long this will talk here. We're going to transition into Mordenkainen's Magnificent Mechanics again. But now we're going to get away from D&D, and we're going to talk about another game that I know I enjoy, and Joe does too. Excellent, Cal. Do that.
The link is in the chat here somewhere.
So, yeah, it should also be in the... Yeah. Yeah, Dar says he went through 3 copies of the PHB. You know, I bought multiple copies of it just because and mine got old. I never got the leather one. Didn't go for that, but I did get a sweet 3rd edition leather version of Ravenloft. Still have that. That's a beautiful book. That's actually really hard to find.
Those leather books are generally nicely produced, but just I never want to lay down that much money.
And then I never want to use them when I get them because they look so nice, you know.
That $100 chunk of money, it looks nice sitting on my shelf.
Oh, that's stupid. I agree. It's so dumb, Joe. And I do it. I don't know why. Oh, anyway. So Savage Worlds, different sort of game. And it'll bring back something that Elle was doing it right. He says, I've been paying too close attention. My pizza is cold. That's correct.
Cold pizza. Sometimes cold pizza is okay, but
it's worth it when you're listening to Biggest Geekas. It's hard. It's hard to take time to eat.
We made your pizza cold. We should be ashamed, but we're kind of happy.
Dude, Darth is doing it right.
It's probably the chat, though. It's probably not us.
No, probably not. Darth says, "Oh no, I have used the hell out of my leather-bound copy. You, sir, are a better man than me, because that makes it worth it." Okay, are we going to talk about Savage World? Let's do this. In this Mordenkainen's Magnificent Mechanics, the idea is pick a game that Joe and I like, or at least a game, and we're going to pick out. Right off, lady.
Cold pizza with French onion dip.
Dude.
Ooh.
Come on, dude. Do your thing.
Yeah, so Savage Worlds before I get too grossed out.
I think I would eat that French onion dip. I do like that, but I don't know if I can put too much on a piece of pizza.
Too many flavors.
So what do you like about Savage Worlds? In this sort of segment, we're going to revisit a game and say, here's the mechanics that we like. What did you like, Joe?
I think my favorite thing about Savage Worlds was the raising and the aces.
That is fun.
With the dice conventions of the game. I'm not a huge fan of the different dice types for
ability scores
and whatnot. The novice, seasoned, veteran, it's okay. It's just it's the same but different, man.
Yeah.
But the raises and acing, I like exploding dice.
Yeah, so when you roll, so if you're making a check on your agility, let's say your agility is titled is not a number, but it's a dice, so a D8. And since you as a character are a wild card, that means you're a special hero type guy, you get an extra D6 and you roll it. If either one of those numbers max out, then you get to roll again. So if your 6 maxes out, you roll the D6 again, so you get a 6 on the first time and a 5 on the second one. That's a grand total of 11. When a target number is usually 4, that tends to be pretty good news. So when you explode. So yeah, you like that. Anything else you really liked about the game? It was D&D.
Now, it's not the mechanics. But I like that it's very adaptable to different game types. So it's a universal system.
Right.
And I think it does very well as a universal system.
So it's like GURPS, but good.
You'll start a flame war with that one with the right crowd.
Oh, let's see who likes GURPS. Yeah.
But it's a good universal system, I think.
It is. What do you think of the? I kind of find the leveling up system, not the system of actually leveling up, but the fact that you have ranks, and then within the ranks you have to get different advances and to go to a new rank. So your ranks go from novice, a brand new character. Within the novice rank, you must gain 3 different advances, improve your character. Thank you, Malachi. He says, Randy may be out of line, but he's right. Thank you. Yeah, I know people like GURPS. I don't. I think, the advancement is pretty cool. I do like the die types for the acing and stuff. I do find it. I've always found it weird that you say, I've got a strength of a D8. I've got an agility of a D4. I think mechanically it keeps. It kind of does what 5e does, but it has a risk. 5e, the players are very successful often. In Savage Worlds, you're very successful often, but you also have a chance of being very, very screwed.
And base success can often be it can be lackluster. A lot of times you need a raise or something like that for it to actually, for your attack or whatever you're doing to be effective.
If you're using one of your weaker stats, for sure.
Yeah. And the thing is, though, with the raises, there's an interesting conundrum.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just me overthinking it, but the chance of you getting a raise with a D4 is higher than it is with a D6 or a D8 or a D10.
Correct.
Or D12, right? However, the number range you can get on those dice are higher as well. So maybe it's a wash.
But with the 4 being the target, not all the time, with the 4 being a target, you're going to be more successful rolling that D10. Because you're going to get more score. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You got to
over time with average numbers and stuff like that. Sure.
But I get it. Indigo wants to know what my shirt says. This is says Delta College Alumni, which is actually a lie that I'm perpetuating at my school. That's the college that I go to, is Delta College. But it's just a cool shirt. It's my favorite color, gray, so I snagged it. Yeah, that's all it says. It's a college I teach at. So, yeah, the raises and the acing are cool. I like the cards and the bennies. Whenever I play Savage Worlds, I kind of get my mind away from D&D, and it's more. I think it's played better with a little more narrative stuff. That you let players have a little more control. The card initiative, the way they do chases with cards. I love the chase system with cards. But I like the initiative system. It takes a little bit to learn. I know you're less inclined. You want to keep it dice oriented, but I like Savage Worlds that way. If I had my druthers, I think for simplicity, I like the dice. But for Savage Worlds, I don't want to play it with. There's rules for playing initiative with D20 for Savage World. No, thank you. I want the cards and I want the little chips for bennies. So
Yeah, I used to be really enamored of a hero point thing, but the idea of a safety net, which is what they generally are,
sure,
makes the game a little soft. So,
yep.
So if they were just narrative tools, that may not be the case.
Right.
But if your Benny was a reroll,
Mm-hmm.
then it becomes a softer game. That may be fine.
Yeah.
There's different strokes for different folks, but the old school dude in me is coming out more against having those kind of safety net handrails in the game.
Yeah. The only thing I would say is in Savage Worlds, and this will bring us to another mechanic that I think I do like, but you got to be in the mood. It's also your hit points. Meaning, if you don't have those little bennies, you can't soak wounds. And
correct.
More than 3 wounds, you're hosed.
You're hosed.
So, there is a place where you can get in that death spiral, because when you get a wound, you get a -1 to your attack. That doesn't sound like much, but when you're just rolling a D4, D6, D8, that can be significant. And so when you play it, it can get really bad. I do like that instead of hit points, though I find the shaken rule in the game. If someone hits you and rolls a number that matches your toughness, that's fine. If they go over your toughness, up to 3 points over, they shake you, which means you're kind of stunned, you're beat a little bit, and you lose your ability to react on your turn unless you make a spirit roll. If you get 4 over your toughness, then you take actual damage. I think sometimes that part of the game can get you caught in the death spiral, and even in a no-win situation, unless you really know the rules super well and can take advantage of gang up and helping other characters, because you can get toughnesses for monsters that are dang near impossible to even hurt.
Right. So if you spend your bennies on narrative and making things happen that are cool, where and you get to a fight and then you have no bennies.
Yeah.
Then either the DM or the GM in this case, the GM you've got at the table uses the Benny concept correctly, then you will get extra from good role play, coming up with interesting ideas and such. So you're not necessarily limited to the 1 or 2 or 3 you might have at the start of the session.
Yeah. I think that sometimes the mechanic where you get hit exceeds your toughness, every 4 is a wound, then it's your turn to roll your vigor, to soak the wounds if you have a Benny to use. Sometimes that takes a little tedious.
Yeah,
it's much easier to subtract hit points, but the game is meant to be a game where I think your characters are a little bit on the tough side. They're not 13th age or 5th edition tough, but they're even a novice character in Savage Worlds can do what he's got to do. He may not be great, but he's going to be competent. So you don't start out with punks.
Right. So what the bennies do for the novice characters is it does keep them alive. It gives them the whole set of rules there provides characters that are not necessarily zeros, like D&D characters are zeros at the beginning. You're level 1, but you're a 0 to hero, and that's not Savage Worlds. Savage Worlds is competent. Their characters are competent to start out.
Competent to good. Malachi said this, and I have this too. Says he did a good job converting over to Pathfinder. I haven't read it yet, but I do have the big box set. I jumped in for the big Kickstarter part. I wish I hadn't, because I'm getting a little tired of. I'm off the Savage Worlds wheel. If they do a new edition, I'm not into it because I've got what I need, and I really just can't. I don't want to spend any more money on that game. It's good. I like it. But if you can see, I have a huge row of Savage World stuff that I've yet to play, and I want to get through that crap. I don't want to just so we've played Rippers, a setting, Victorian era Monster Hunters. We played Deadlands. We have dabbled in Rifts. I want to play Rifts, and I want to do the Pathfinder just because I think it'll be a fun experience. But I think the game, I think the idea that it does kind of pulp era heroes is probably true. And I think we found it does superheroes fantastically.
Right. I think I'm kind of ambivalent on which one is superior, Mutants and Masterminds or this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, their superheroes rules aren't limited to necessary evil, which is what kind of exemplifies it.
Right.
You can port that rule set into any type of superhero setting.
Yeah. Yes, Maliki, they are doing the companion rules. He's right. I've kickstarted the fantasy and the supers. My supers should be arriving soon. I can't wait to see the new ones. I think overall the Savage Worlds Adventure Edition is pretty solid. I think their adjustment on the shaken effect has made me like it better. So players aren't stun locked, sitting there shaken for round and round after round. But if I had to summarize, I think the explosive dice, the cards and the bennies, I'm a big fan of. I also like the fact that the PCs are wild cards. The mooks of the extras, they don't get all these extra wounds. You do a wound to an extra, they're down.
Well, it's their easy way of differentiating the PCs from everybody else except for key NPCs.
Right, or big monsters. You can have monsters that are wild cards. A big dragon can have.
Yeah, so a key NPC or monster. Yeah.
But for you, then you would say it's basically the exploding dice and the generic setting capability of the game.
Yeah, I think in the wild card thing you just mentioned, that is pretty cool. That's the differentiator that in D&D, what makes PCs stand apart from the common folk isn't always clear.
Especially the older editions. I would argue in OSE, they barely are better than commoners.
And sometimes worse. I mean, a wizard.
Yeah. Oh my.
I mean, you have a magic spell you can throw out, but if they a clever bunch of commoners can scare you into blowing your magic missile, and then they jump you with pitchforks, and you're dead in a round.
Heaven forbid.
Easy.
Heaven forbid you get 2 spells at first level in your book, and you get read magic and detect magic.
Yeah.
then you're garbage as far as an adventure goes. Malachi says he's waiting on the new sci-fi companion. I didn't know. Have they mentioned that yet? Is that coming out? I've got the supers and the fantasy on the way, and I really hope there isn't another edition for a long, long time. But honestly, I don't care. I don't hate the company. I like the company fine. They tend to be they nod a little toward the lefties, but I think Shane Hensley does a good job, does his own thing. And I appreciate Savage Worlds in general as a company. But as far as mechanics, those are some of my favorites. I find rules-wise, it's very easy to teach, to sit players down and learn how to play it.
Yeah, that's it's not a rules thing. I mean, that's not a mechanic to discuss, but it is a thing to like about it because it is an easy game to pick up, just to pick up and play. Easy.
Yeah. And if I want to do a quirky setting, for sure, I like it. Oh, Malachi, they're going to crowdfund it at some point. The sci-fi companion, good. So I may get that one. I don't know. We'll see. I'm still feeling kind of done. So I got the old sci-fi companion. I'll probably
reeling you in. They just need the right bait.
That's true. Do something. I keep saying I'm going to quit. I'm probably not. No, I can't imagine I'll do an edition, but Joe will have to keep me honest on that one. All right. Anything else?
I'll just carry a rolled up newspaper every time you.
Do you like edges and hindrances? I'm kind of ambivalent on that.
In a way, it's just a means of getting more build points for your character. Sometimes for an edge hindrance system or drawback, whatever system it comes in, for them to be useful for the game, the GM really needs to engage in those hindrances. So if the GM is not, if you are not as a GM engaging those hindrances, you've just given the players just some free points.
Yeah, you have to make it. So what you do is you get so many points, and you buy edges, which are like D&D feats. They tend to be a lot better in the game. They do make you big power-ups. And then when you get a hindrance, so you get an edge, you usually got to counter that. You get so many points. The way you get points to buy extra edges is by getting a few hindrances. And if you don't make players suffer, like, if they say they're an alcoholic, you got to tempt them with alcohol. You have to get them drinking and make them suffer. Oh.
He's in California.
Oh, goodness. Are you okay? You must. Maybe you're okay with the... I hope so, dude. God bless you.
Yeah, hopefully he's not like bleeding out and going, we just had, hopefully he's not bleeding out.
A serious earthquake. Where are you at, dude? I hope you're okay, man.
I wonder is he on his cell? Probably not.
He's in California, so yeah.
Well, I'm saying, is he on his cell phone doing this, or does he still have internet in his house? Hopefully you and yours are okay.
Yes, sir, buddy. We'll keep you in our prayers. Sorry about that.
A lot of stuff in California is,
yeah.
I was going to say is built for it, because I know they have building codes that are supposed to take that in consideration, but considering how a lot of, considering how much corruption there is over there, who knows?
L says, Cal, give us some good news. Is Hollywood destroyed?
Oh, I don't want anybody to get hurt.
Yeah.
But if maybe the Hollywood sign gets destroyed, that's great.
And Disney's headquarters, is that in? No, that's in
Florida. No, it's not Florida.
Is it Florida? Is that where Disney is?
Disney, one of Disney's parks is in Florida. I don't know if that's where their main headquarters is.
Right.
It might be.
It might be. I have no clue. All right.
Crafty's in California too. I didn't remember.
Sounds
that.
like it. Yeah. All right.
Northern California, where the girls are warm.
That's what
as the song goes.
Yes. So.
All right.
I think that's all we had to say, man. We ready to boogie on out of here?
I believe so. We are past the 2-hour mark, so we're about to become pumpkins.
Okay, David Gow, if you're still listening, I'm not going to get together tonight. I'm going to say it one more time, but Joe will help me get in contact with you. So
help me help you.
Yes. But if that's it, if you'd like to support our show, please like, subscribe, share us wherever you watch the show or listen to it. We're on all the socials, videos, and podcast places as well, YouTube. If you want to give us a little cash, use PayPal, paypal.me/biggestgeekus, or Streamlabs and Anchor. The links will be in the show notes. On the web, check us out at biggestgeekuspodcast.com. If you want to email us at thegeeks@biggestgeekuspodcast.com. I am working I'm trying to think through another giveaway. I want to have one before the big 500 subscriber. Where are we at, Joe? Like 310 or something?
320.
320, okay. And so I want to have another one just for fun. Martinson gave me an idea about a Riddle of the Sphinx type contest. I may work with that. I might go something else. We really want to push people to email us because we love reading your responses. So it'll probably involve sending an email in and us randomly selecting from the emails. I think that's all I got to say, though, Joe. How about you, bud?
Oh, don't forget Big Geek Emporium. Another way to help us is going there and supporting the plethora of great content we have, great content creators that are over there. We don't get a huge cut, but every little bit helps. So head on over there if you like something. Buy it, even if you get the free stuff. That helps out too.
Yeah. Thanks for all the folks that showed up. Elle, I don't know if we've seen you before, but you're welcome. Glad you were here.
Yes, thanks for coming by.
Yeah, it's good to see some new people, and of course the old faces are always welcome. You guys have a good night. This is Randy.
And this is Joe.
And remember, if you can't be big like us, then be geeks like us.